Okay, good morning. Um, Hopefully you can hear me. All I see is Jacob and Laura right now, but hopefully more kids will join as we get going here. If not, I am recording this so people can view it later if they want to. Here's some more coming in. So I might be pausing to admit kids. I believe I've got you muted right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain things and then give you an opportunity for questions. This will be the last Zoom session of the year, at least for right now, um, because next week is the last week of the course, at least in terms of new assignments. Okay. So, what I want to do today is go back to the extended closure for a moment, point out how things are going to end, and I want to talk about today's assignment, and I want to talk about your last test essay, and then field any questions you might have. So I'm going to start with, so I've got our Google Classroom screen up here. So I'm going to scroll down to, let's see, the extended closure schedule. So I'm going to click on that. Okay. All right. And obviously that has everything on here that we've done since the extended closure began way back in March, right? March 16th. So I'm going to go down to the end of it here. Okay, so today is the 14th. So I'm doing a Zoom session on the Ronald Reagan and the end of the Cold War assignment. I want to discuss your essay. Remember, Fridays are catch up on work days. You can work on whatever you need to. So the last essay of the year has been posted today. That is not due until 5/22/14. So that's next Friday. So the last essay of the year is not due until next Friday. And really, you have time beyond that if you look at the rest of the schedule, which I'll explain in a moment, but that's when it's technically due. Okay. And that last essay involves recent foreign policy involvements, really recent military involvements, and I'll explain it in a moment. I have one more lecture I'm going to give you. That'll be on Tuesday. A little bit more about the Bush presidency and then Clinton, and then in the second Bush presidency. So, and whatever else I read about that I want to try and squeeze into that. I know those lectures have been long because I'm squeezing a lot of things into them. Okay. Now, your last test will be on Thursday of next week. That'll be a set of quizzes, questions today. If you read the email this morning, that last test could be pretty big. I mean, it's the last test. It's not really a final exam, but I guess it kind of is. It's just not comprehensive. The reason why it's so large is because of the amount of content that has been in my lectures and I've been asking you to read during these last few weeks. So I may have to come up with a lot of questions to get a decent assessment of that. Just remember, you can use your notes and your text and other sources to answer those questions. So hopefully everybody will do well on it, and everybody will finish strong. Okay. Now, I wanted to point out, okay, so that last test is scheduled for next Thursday, right? You can continue to work on the essay that day, answer those questions. The last day of the course is next Friday. But I wanted to point out this period here. This is the remediation period, which, if you've been paying attention to stuff that the administration has sent home and maybe your teachers, you can still submit assignments after the 22nd. So maybe you're not quite done with that last essay on the 22nd. Maybe a lot of things go down next week that keep you busy. You know, with the situation we're dealing with, things can be stressful, things come up. So you've still got, I mean, really, you've got a lot of time to get that last test done. The due date, of course, is important because that helps me, gives me time to grade it. It'd be nice for you if you were done by then, I would think. But if things come up, it's okay if you need more time. This remediation period, if you look at what it says, students may still submit assignments not completed or correct and resubmit previous assignments during this period. So maybe there's an assignment you got back recently where you lost 4 points or something. You can redo that. And I'm trying to give you suggestions when I grade those. So if you want to resubmit them, you know what I'm looking for. Okay. So that's what you can do during this period. So really, you've got a lot of time to complete this last test. Okay. The due date is important because I'd like to have time to grade them, but you've got a lot of time. If you need more time, that is totally okay. Okay. So I hope you guys understand that. Now, the administration also wants us to do enrichment things during this time. So what I might do is post maybe some current event stuff about what's going on in the world, particularly with COVID-19, right? Maybe some News ELA articles or something. You don't have to do those. If you want to do them because you're interested and you want some bonus points, I'll probably give you some bonus points for doing them, then you can do those. That's if I even put them on there. The administration would like us to. They're enrichment activities. You do not have to do them. I don't know if I'm going to put them. If I don't have time, I'm not going to put them on there. But if I have time and I can find some stuff, I'll get them put on there for you. Okay. But those are enrichment. All right. Okay. I'm going to unmute people and see if you have any questions. Does anybody have any questions about the extended schedule, the remediation period? Any questions about that? Okay.
I do.
Oh, what do you got, Jake?
About that, but I can see your screen on my screen. So it said you were viewing John last screen, but all I see is the black screen.
I can see you, Jacob, but I'm having a hard time hearing you. You okay?
All I see is a black screen.
I do have the chat enabled. If you want to,
I guess it's just because my internet's slow or something.
Yeah, it might be
like that. But I did get the message about what you're saying.
Okay. All right. Now, if I'm having a hard time hearing you, maybe because of your internet. If you want to type your question in the chat, that might work. But it sounds like maybe you're hearing me a little bit. I hope so. Hopefully it's not my internet. I don't know. But hopefully you're hearing me okay. There were a couple kids that it took a little bit longer for them to join, so maybe it's my internet. I don't know. I hope not. I am going to move on to the next assignment now. If there's no questions, I'm going to move on to today's assignment. So I'm going to go back to the main screen, coursework screen, and I'm going to scroll up here. Whoops, a little too far, I think. Yeah, this one. So the only reason I want to go over this assignment, I don't know that it's that difficult, but the political cartoons can be a little bit tricky. Remember, one of the goals of the Honors Social Studies 2 course, or one of the things that the state wants kids to be able to do at your level, is interpret primary documents. So I found some political cartoons for you to interpret. There's a couple clips here from C-SPAN. Number one should be pretty easy. Just make sure you're telling me, you know, leader of the Soviet Union when, what's significant about Gorbachev, right? Sometimes kids just put the title of the guy and they're not telling me he's an incredibly important general secretary of the Soviet Union. What's so important about him? When you view that clip, make sure you pull out of there something that Reagan said as a reason to tear down the wall. Show me that you watched the clip. Sometimes kids give me a general answer here and I take off a point. Make sure you pull something out of the clip that Reagan said. And then this one is another short clip. There's a commentator on there, a Reagan historian, who basically tells us what he felt that Reagan did to help end the Cold War. So make sure you get some of that stuff out, okay? Give me some of the stuff that he said, okay? Give me some of the stuff that he said. All right, I'm actually going to go to these cartoons for a moment, just because I think some of them are a little bit tricky. Okay, this one. Now, what makes these cartoons tricky is some of the people, some of the images in them, I didn't necessarily mention in my lecture, and your text just mentions them briefly. Like this image here, right? It's a political cartoon, but this is an image of Leonid Brezhnev, who was the Soviet leader after Nikita Khrushchev. You can tell that because he's got really thick eyebrows, right? In political cartoons, they tend to accentuate certain physical features of leaders, right? Like with Barack Obama and George W. Bush, it was always their ears, right? This one, it's eyebrows. Now, you don't even necessarily need to know who he is in this image, but this is a commentary on the Soviet Union and what it allows for freedom of speech. And the one thing you might remember through your reading, some of these are tough to see. You may have to, zoom in, use your computer to zoom in. But on this sign here, it says dissidents. Now remember, dissidents are people who criticize a government, right, or protest a government. Jimmy Carter was upset about how the Soviet Union was treating dissidents. So that might help you in the interpretation of this image. Okay. Now there's 7 of these. Choose 2 that you think you can interpret. Some of them are tougher than others. This one I think is good. It's kind of a commentary on voting, right? We have elections in the United States. In the Soviet Union, they had elections, but they tended to be controlled elections. In other words, the only people on the ballots were people that the Communist Party approved. So it was a one-party state. It would be like in the United States if Republicans controlled everything and the only people you could vote for was Republicans, or Democrats controlled everything and the only people you could vote for was Democrats. That's what was going on in the Soviet Union. Believe it or not, they did have some elections, but they were very much controlled. They weren't as free as ours. So this is kind of a commentary on that. Okay. This one's kind of tough. What happened between 82 to 84 is the Soviet Union lost 3 leaders in 3 consecutive years. They were all old men who died pretty quickly in office. I believe it was Brezhnev, Cheryenko, and Andropov. Okay, not that you even need to even know that. I barely remember it, but they had 3 leaders die very quickly in office. So the key one, the key thing in this is this represents the Communist Party. Okay, who might they be? Who might they be referring to? An original, young, dynamic new leader. I see James can't see my screen. Are you guys seeing my screen okay? I hope it's not my
I
internet.
can see your screen.
Okay,
I
good.
can also see your screen fine.
I wonder if it's my internet, maybe. I don't know.
My internet's really good. I don't know why I can't see yours, because my internet's, compared to Jacob's, like he said his was bad. My internet's all the way up. It's good.
So maybe you need to, I don't, maybe it's a control you need to enable, James. I don't know. For this one, once again, some of the images on here, and I got these from Ohio State. Okay, so it was a collection they had. So of course I'm going to use them, right? Okay, but there's a term on here that I did have in my last lecture called glasnost, which was a term by Gorbachev, a term that Gorbachev brought about as a reform measure. Glasnost means openness. There was resistance to that openness. Now, openness means more freedom of speech. The KGB was the Soviet spy agency. So Gorbachev is starting to open up more freedom of speech in the Soviet Union, but maybe the KGB isn't too hip to that. So maybe there's some resistance to that, is what's being said in this image. So if you want to choose that one, think about how you might interpret that. Okay. This one, another term here, perestroika, which means restructuring. Gorbachev's goal was to restructure or open the Soviet economy more, right? Make it more free market. The Soviet economy begins to fall apart though, okay, late 80s, early 90s. So what is this image saying about the Soviet economy as the reforms and it became less centralized, I guess? So what might this image be saying? This one, some kids have already done this. A lot of kids are choosing this one. So if you look, you've got the Russian bear here, right? USSR, reforms. These are Eastern European nations, nations that were part of the Warsaw Pact, a forced Soviet agreement, right? Those buffer zone nations east of Russia, east of the Soviet Union. So reforms are being given out. They want more, right? They want more. Notice the look on the Russian bear, like maybe he wasn't expecting this, right? So what are these reforms that Gorbachev started? What are they leading to? What are they leading to? And then here's the last one. This image, see if you can tell me who this is. I'm not going to tell you right now. But if you look at that image closely, you should be able to identify this man. He is mentioned in my lecture quite a bit. And because of what he did, what is happening to communism? These are dominoes, right? You hit one domino, they all fall down. A lot of kids are choosing this image too, have turned it in so far, but some of them aren't identifying who this is. So if you want full credit on this image, I want you to identify who this man might be. Okay? So, all right, I'm going to unmute everybody. Any questions on that assignment? The images or now, obviously, part of the reason me doing this, kids, is I want to record my explanations. And then if anybody wants to view these later, like if they can't figure these images out, they can go look at these interpretations and hope that will help them for you guys or my other social studies 2 classes. So we're good? I'm not seeing anything in the chat.
I couldn't see any of it, but I think I understand the basic premise of it.
Well, James, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why you can't see stuff. That's a bummer. But if you listen to what I said and you want to look at the images later, hopefully the link will work and you can kind of maybe follow along as you go through the images if you want. And you could send me questions too, of course, kiddo. Okay. Most of the kids have been doing a good job that I've turned them in so far. And remember, if I graded one of yours already, and you got it back and you're missing a point or something, feel free to resubmit that. I think Kayla did that this morning. She missed 1 point, right? I sent it back to her. She corrected it and sent it back, and she got full credit. And that's totally fine, because that's probably the best way I can teach you in this situation, is if you actually resubmit something, because you're taking my suggestions and improving what you did. And that's a good way to learn. So, okay. I'm going to move on to the last thing, and then I'll take questions on anything you want. All right, so I'm going to click. Actually, let me leave that up just in case I got to go back to it. Let's go back to the stream here. It should be right at the top. So this is your last writing assignment of the year. Okay. Now remember, we were supposed to do a research paper. We were supposed to do a research paper and a presentation. That all got shelved. So instead, I'm just giving you one final test essay, but I want it to be at least 3 pages. So I want you to push yourself a little bit. Your research paper was going to be 5 to 7. Well, this is still easier. The topics are more narrow, and I know some of you are probably bummed about, because you guys like to learn. I know some of you are probably bummed about not doing the topic you chose for your research paper. Okay, but this one is related to the last unit of the course, which is really post-Cold War stuff. Okay, well, end of Cold War, post-Cold War stuff. Okay, so here's what I've done. So I've assigned you a thesis statement again. Okay, so you'll use this thesis statement. What you're going to do is you're going to choose one of these military interventions that the United States participated in. You can choose any of the 7 you want. You're going to choose one of those, and you're going to plug it into here. So the United States becoming military involved, I'll just use the first one in Nicaragua, right? In the 1980s, or you could use a specific year if you want to, is justified because, or you would decide it's not justified. So you have to make a decision here. Do you think the United States was right to get involved in this situation, or were they wrong? So you're evaluating here. You're evaluating here. Do you think the United States should have gotten involved in this particular country? Your essay should support the chosen thesis statement above, Times New Roman, 12 point. Give me your sources at the end. It's a lot like the last essay. It's just longer, different topic. Okay, so this is the test for what I call the modern era unit, or the test essay for the modern era unit. That's the last unit of the year. Okay, it's due on 5/22/20 by the end of the day, but if you need more time, you can finish it up during that remediation period. Okay, well, I mean, I don't know, maybe you're getting swamped next week with every teacher giving you a big assignment. I don't know. Just continue to communicate with me. You guys have done a great job on that. Now, again, I want you to turn it in on Google Classroom and turnitin.com, just because I want to make sure you don't plagiarize. And there were some of you, when you turned in your stuff on Turnitin, there were some of you who had over 50% plagiarism. So when that happened, I did make you resubmit it. And usually you resubmitted it and it was okay. And I know that's a pain, but sometimes kids plagiarize and don't realize they're doing it. They're not even copying and pasting. They're just typing too much directly from the source. You've got to find ways to reword things, okay? And what's nice about Turnitin is that forces kids to get better at that. They realize, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this or that. So that's what's nice about that website. I had some kids with 0% plagiarism. That was impressive. That doesn't always happen. Okay, so I tried to give you the format here. So you want an introductory paragraph, multi-paragraph paper body that provides 3 supporting arguments and a counterclaim. A lot of you asked for about a counterclaim on the last essay. I didn't require it. There are 15 topics. I thought that might be a little bit cumbersome. Some of you still did one, which was good. This one, there's only 7 topics. So you could be, writing about, maybe you decide to write about the Afghanistan war, right? And you're saying that the U.S. should have been involved there. Okay, you can just pick another one of these to address. Like you could say they shouldn't have gotten involved in Panama, for example. Okay, so if that makes sense to you. So your counterclaim for this would probably be an event you think the United States shouldn't have gotten involved in. Okay, so hopefully that works out for you. And then don't forget about the writing rules. Some of you still do that. Sometimes I still get first person and stuff. And then this time, I don't know if I did this last time, sorry about that, but this time I wanted to include the rubric that I used. This is really the same rubric as last time. It's a rubric I make up myself because these are the things I'm looking for. Just more points because this is a little bit longer paper. Okay, so this test is going to be worth a lot of points. I may have to go beyond 30 quiz questions because there's a lot of content in those lectures, and I want to make you go back and look at those notes one more time. So that's really the purpose of the quiz questions. It makes you go back, look at the notes, find the answer, hopefully find the right answer. Okay. Okay. Everybody should be unmuted. Do you have any questions about anything I've talked about? Any questions about anything I've talked about? Okay. Let me know if one pop. Whoops.
Wait, when are the due dates for these again?
Okay, so the Reagan and the end of the Cold War assignment is due today. Okay, it's posted on Tuesday. It's due at the end of the day. But remember, due dates are flexible. If you need more time, tomorrow is a catch-up day. Okay.
I think I think
Some of you have already done it. So the essay is due next Friday at midnight. Okay. But, and I've got a question from Jacob here. We'll be able to resubmit items in all of our classes. My understanding is during that remediation period, we'll go back to the extended closure during this period, right? So after next Friday, I mean, look, that's still a lot of time. Which James, I don't know if you can see my screen, but from May 26th to June 9th, the end of the school year, for me, you can resubmit any assignment from the 4th quarter. You can't resubmit any from the 3rd, from the 4th quarter. So if you want to go back and correct the first assignment, fourth quarter, which I think was the Cesar Chavez boycott activity, you can do that. Okay. So, and I believe, Jacob and anybody else, that is the case in every class. I think it's supposed to be anyway. So for me, I think it's great. I mean, it's work for me to regrade stuff, right? But it's a great way for you guys to learn things. You know, you take a suggestion from a teacher and you fix it. So, anything else? Okay, kids. Well, I miss you. I miss doing stuff in class. I am excited to see that my US 1 course is being offered next year, my US 1 and US 2, and I think there's 17 to 20 kids signed up for that. I don't know if that's any of you guys. Most kids take that when they're seniors. That's good news. So I hope I'll see some students I've had in the past. And hopefully we'll be back in the fall. I don't know. If you paid attention to what Dr. Fauci said yesterday, I'm not so sure, but hopefully we'll be back. Yes, Jacob, I will help you with that. Yes, I will. Sound good, Jake? You're welcome. All right, kids, if there's no questions, take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Keep using that hand sanitizer. And, if I do get some enrichment activities posted, and let me just repeat one more time. If you see enrichment activities on Google Classroom during any of these dates, you do not have to do those. If I get them posted, it'll just be for bonus. And what I'm thinking is it'll probably be related to the current big historical event we're going through, which is a pandemic that has shut a huge chunk of the nation down. That hasn't happened since 1918 with the influenza epidemic that happened in that year. So we are definitely experiencing American history and maybe identifying a little bit with what some of our ancestors have had to go through and sacrificing during times of national emergency or crisis, right? Whether it was World War One, the flu pandemic that occurred during World War One, Great Depression, World War Two. This is big. This is big. We've lost almost 90,000 people. So this is a big, sad, historic event, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it. So you guys hang in there and keep on learning, keep on bettering yourselves. And let's hope we're all back in the fall. That's for sure. If you need anything from me going forward, don't hesitate to contact me. All right, kids, take care. I'm going to end this message if I can see.
Bye, Mr. Lukasco.
Bye, James. Bye, everybody else.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Once again.